Greetings YouTube and welcome to the Blue Corner, and in this video I have for you guys a Cardfight Vanguard deck profile, and it's going to be on Aqua post BTG2. Now that Lambros is a thing, this deck is getting a lot of hype, and from what I've seen, it's living up to it and quite well. So let's talk the Aquas. The deck has gotten a major boost thanks to not only getting a pretty busted card as a G unit, but they've gotten more fourth attack enablers, which is something the deck has needed. Is pre-BTG2, you had basically Tidal Assault, the Storm Riders, and then like the really specific blue Storm cards that were okay, but not amazing. Now though, Aquas have a lot more generic fourth attack enablers, and they're pretty decent too. Like, we got Magnum Assault in the trial deck, who's one of the best cards that the deck has, and this set released Stacia. One of the promo cards for the deck that's a box topper is, let me just pull her out over here, a couple Dagger Sailors. She's a bit pricey at the moment though. I found some for cheap, so that's why I got them, but she shouldn't be $30 or close to it. It's kind of ridiculous. And your new starter can also enable an extra attack. You've got grade 3s that can enable extra attacks that don't suck like Diamantes does, at least now. Like Diamantes and Basil, they are completely outclassed by what we have now, and it's actually kind of nice. Like, you can run cards that have decent stats, that have good effects. So yeah, this is my current build. It is Thavas, Malestrom. Other options include Thavas and Friends, as I call it, where you run 4 Thavas and then a combination of Tetra Drive Dragon, Sword Max, and Strike Head Dragon. All of them have their own benefits. Tetra Drive's a restanding Vanguard in a game where restanding is the best skill in the game. He's a bit awkward to pull off, but he allows you to just take advantage of the fact that you run crits in the deck now. Sword Max is one of those rare grade 3 Vanguards that have an effect on both Vanguard and Rearguard. He's GB1, Counterblast 1. When he attacks and it's the third battle of the turn or more, you can give a unit 2,000 power until the end of the turn, and then you can choose any 2 units in play and swap them, which can allow you to do some neat attack orders if need be. And finally, we have Strike Head Dragon, who has 2 skills. The one I'm going to talk about first is his On-Ride skill, where you Counterblast 1, Soul Blast 1, and you may pay the cost. If you do, you can choose 1 card from your hand, you call it to Rearguard, and that unit gets a new skill where when it attacks the Vanguard and hits the first battle of the turn, it immediately restands. So it allows you to do a 4th attack on ride, and then his passive skill, GB1, is when your Rearguard attacks a unit, and a Vanguard, and if it's the 3rd battle of that turn or more, that unit gets plus 3,000. Now, if I'm reading this correctly, it means that anything after your anything on your 3rd attack and afterwards will always get plus 3,000, which combos nicely with your restanding Rearguards, and that's just a really nice passive skill to have. The idea behind though of this build is you're mainly going to be sitting on Thavas, as he has a really good stride break skill. I thought I was going to be unimpressed with it, and I was like, it's okay. But no, the potential pop is actually really solid, given that it's no Counterblast, and potentially kill them with their GB2 skill. But if you're going to try and kill your opponent outside of a stride, you're likely going for Glory Maelstrom's Ultimate Break, which is Generation Break, Limit Break 5. Oh god, GB5, that'd be horrendous. Limit Break 5, Counterblast 1. When he attacks, he gets plus 5,000, and the ability of your opponent can't card grade 1 or higher from hand. There's a reason why units like Glare and Yggdrasil are called Glory Clones, is because this skill is still kind of stupid, and with the addition of a new crit trigger, it's now going to become completely unblockable. But that's like the concept behind this deck. You stride, and then you try and cheese them out. And let's talk about the rest of the decks and how we got there. So for starting Vanguard, I'm running 1 copy of Officer Cadet Eric. God damn, I cannot say words. He's the grade 3 searcher, so Counterblast 1, put him in Soul, look at top 5, add a grade 3. Just a little boost of consistency, whereas Officer Cadet Andre is more offensive. As you guys know, I prefer consistency over power, so obviously I'm going to go with this guy, and he's helped me get out of being grade stuck and avoid G-assisting, which this deck really does not want to do, as you need your cards in hand, as this is a combo deck, and, well, losing combo pieces really, really hurts. Then we have 4 copies of Thavas, 4 copies of Malestrom. I've already explained what these guys do. For the grade 2s, 4 copies of Magnum Assault. Your honestly, it's one of the best cards in the deck. GB1, Counterblast 1, restand when it attacks the Vanguard and is boosted. Yes, you do pay the cost. For more details on this guy and like their rulings that were messed up in translation, check out my opening of the trial decks, which I'll have in the comment links below, as they were misprinted and they've been since errataed with what they're supposed to be. Everyone plays them as appropriately, but if you ever see someone try and use Magnum Assault skill with no Counterblast, feel free to call them out and shark them on it, because they probably deserve it. But yeah, really amazing card. 4 copies of Tidal Assault. He's the OG Magnum Assault, where when he attacks the Vanguard, you can immediately stand him and he loses 5,000 power for the turn. To be perfectly honest, I think Tidal Assault's a bit on the overrated side. People are praising this thing as one of the best cards in the entire clan, and I have to disagree in that. The minus 5,000 power is a really huge issue for him, and it means that he's only good for 2 instances, which are your grade 2 rush turn, or your turn 2 rush, where when your opponent's at a 9k or a 7k Vanguard and you happen to have a grade 2 Vanguard that's not Tidal Assault and a Tidal Assault with a booster behind it, then you can pressure the hell out of your opponent, because then you're going to attack for 9,000, they guard it, stand back up, attack with the booster, swing for 9,000 or more, they have to guard that, then you attack with your Vanguard, and if they don't have an adequate shield, they're going to lose a bit of, they're going to take damage. And it's also good for your Lambros turn, but that's because Lambros will make him plus 10,000, so you can attack at 19 and then 14. And that said, though, outside of those 2 instances, I actually find him to be a little bit on the underwhelming side, because you'll be swinging for 16 at the Vanguard, then he just restands back up, and then he's 4,000, and he's not going to be doing anything. Then he just swings for the sake of swinging, and I really don't like empty swings, which is one of the problems that I've had in this deck. But you still kind of do need him in here, but you can also not run him, and you totally be fine with that. I just believe that Aqua Force needs to have around 8 to 10 to 12 4th attack enablers, and it's usually that number of combination that I'm running here. As you can tell, 4 of these, 4 of these, 4 of these. You can substitute Tidal Assault for a couple Dagger Sailor, or if you're not running multiple Tidal Assaults, then you would just run a grade 3 Vanguard that would allow you to get more attacks off. Just try and have a fair amount of 4th attack in there, because this deck needs 4th attacks in order to do its stuff. And for the final grade 2, I'm running 3 copies of Saberflow Sailor. This is a card that I didn't think much of at first, but after playing around with it, holy crap, this thing is amazing. It's very small, so you need a booster in order to hit damage, otherwise it's going to swing and whiff. However, after this thing attacks, GB1, if it's the 4th battle or more, you can retire this card and draw 2. Anyone who's played Yu-Gi-Oh! Knows how good of a card D is, except this doesn't have the negative connotations of Card D where your turn immediately ends. No, you can just attack with this thing, then main phase 2, pop it off. Like, holy crap. Drawing cards is amazing, especially in a deck like this that needs cards in order to assemble a major push play and then potentially kill the opponent, because that's what this deck does, is it rushes and then it tries to kill the opponent by the 2nd or 3rd stride. Then for the grade 1s, 4 perfect guards. This is a deck that needs its rear guard, so you run the basic ones. You don't need damage on flippers. I honestly found that I don't burn enough Counterblast to warrant it, even in the Malestrom build. 4 stride enablers. This is a stride deck, so you need those. And I'm running 4 copies of Battle Siren Stacia. She's a new card, and her effect is Generation Break 1. She gains a new effect where she can attack from the back row, and if she does, she gets plus 3,000 power. So she's a 9k beat stick from behind your Vanguard or your rear guard. This is a really great ability, as most, if not all, grade 2s in play these days are 9,000 or less, so you can just have her swing a rear guard. That's one of your 4th attacks, and it means that your Vanguard can swing unboosted and still be a bit of a threat because it's 26, so it's still going to be PG or drop a ton of shield. But she allows you to get 4 attacks off without having a full board, which is great in the Link Joker matchup, because you can just have Magnum Assault with, say, a Phoenix clone behind it. Magnum Assault attacks, then he activates a skill, restand, he attacks 2nd, Stacia attacks 3rd, and then your Vanguard attacks 4th, and you get your skill off, while keeping an open column. So she allows you to just play Aqua Force against matchups that restrict your rear guard usage, and yeah, she's just really strong. If you don't like 4 copies of her, though, you can cut one out and place in another copy of, say, Light Signals Penguin Soldier. He's your Soul Blast 2 draw card. This deck loads up the Soul decently. You have your Grade 3 Searcher, and you have your 8 of your triggers will, in fact, load up the Soul. So it's nice to have. It's a consistency booster in a deck that needs it. For triggers, I'm running 4 copies of Supersonic Sailor. You can put them into the Soul to inflict a damage. 4 copies of Blue Storm Marine General Despina. Her effect is when she boosts a Malestrom unit and it's the 4th battle or more, your opponent can't guard with 0s. So it gives your Vanguard the Silent Tom skill, and if you remember now, Glory Maelstrom's ultimate break turns off grade 1s and higher. So when you boost with this behind this at limit break 5, your opponent can't guard at all. The only way they can hope to stop this attack, which is 20,000 power, is to intercept with 2 units that have intercept. So, yeah, they have to have 2 grade 2s in play, which in itself, you might, well, they'll probably use their hand to guard those things. So they intercept with 2 grade 2s. Normally, that puts them at 1 pass. So you flip a trigger, they're dead. Like, if you're at 5 damage and they're at 5 damage, and you go off with this, you have a very good chance of winning. It's a bit cheesy way to win, but the situation does come up. And it just means that your opponent has to be wary of putting you at 5 damage, because if they do put you at 5 damage, you just bribe Maelstrom and attempt to cheese them for the win. 4 copies of Battle Siren Malika. She is your Margot clone, so put her into the Soul, give a unit 3k. She works nicely with Tidal Assault as it turns his base swing into 12,000, which allows him to swing at Vanguards. Thus, when you go off on your big push turn, he can restand, and he'll become minus 5,000, but he'll also have the plus 3,000, so he'll become a 7,000, so him with any decent-sized booster will still allow you to swing for big amounts, or decent amounts. And finally, 4 heal triggers. Then for the extra deck, 4 copies of the best card in the set, Marine General of the Heavenly Silk Lambros. This thing is stupid good. His effect is when he attacks, and if it's the 4th battle or more of the turn, you flip a copy of himself face up, so G Persona, and when you do, you choose 2 of your rear guards anywhere and just stand them. However, if the number of face-up units in your G zone are 2 or more, those stood units get 10,000 power. So, remember how I said how Tidal Assault is only good for the turn 2 rush in the Lambros turn? Now you see why. So, you attack with this guy, and use his skill to reach stand, attack again, so that's your 1st and 2nd battle. He attacks 3rd with just a rear guard behind him, so swing 16. Then you attack with Lambros for 26 or higher. Use his skill, restand these 2. Now Tidal Assault is 19,000, so you swing 19, restand, swing 14, swing 21. Your opponent is either going to be dead, or they're going to have so little shield in their hand that when you do this on the following turn, they're going to die. And that's basically how Aqua Force functions now. You stride into the Lambros and try and kill them on the 1st or 2nd one. If they live both of your Lambroses, then you do have some backup options in the form of his GB2 skill, his Limit Break, and Blizza, who you run as a 1 of, in case you feel like you're not going to be striding much that game. Like, your hand's looking pretty poor. It's like, okay, well, I may need to use Thavas' GB2 skill. Then you just attack with this and flip up a copy of this, and then now this is online if need be. Or if you're going to be striding a whole bunch, then you just attack with this guy and make him plus a bajillion. And for the last extra deck monsters, 3 copies of Tidal Boar Dragon. On hit, draw a card, call a unit. Really nice if the card you drew off of this guy was Saberflow, because then it's like, oh, look, I drew a card. Call, swing, don't hit, retire, draw 2 more. Hey, look, you got 5 cards? No, that's based, yeah, that's like 5 to 6 draws in 1 turn. So triple drive plus 3. Much card advantage, such wow. And that's basically how the deck is. Again, this is just the way I have it built right now. I'm still in the testing stages, because while I do like what this build can do, and I've also tested with Thavas and these 2 and these 2, there's other ways you can play the deck. There's other cards you can run. You can run High Tide Sniper when he attacks and it's the 3rd battle or more. You Soul Blast 1 to have him gain 10k. I honestly did not find this skill to be that great unless I had this starter in the deck, which cuts down my consistency, and it also conflicts with this guy, so you don't get the draw cards. Couple Dagger Sailor is a card that you can run as a 1 of, and I'm going to try it out in here at some point, but at the moment, though, I just didn't get to it because I didn't have it yet, and it was pricey, and nobody pulled it either. Battle Siren Orthia also gets a slight mention as a card you can run because it has the resist skill. Its actual skill is not good. It basically turns something into a tidal assault, including the minus 5,000, but that's not good. The only reason why you'd run this is its resist skill, which is hexproof in Vanguard, so it can't be targeted, which means that this thing can't be killed, or rather, it can't be targeted by Kagero, Link Joker, Narukami, or Gear Chronicle skills. And then you have the other way of playing this deck, which is the Malestrom-based build, where you have access to Malestrom, his Cross Rides, and the Blue Storm support, which allows you to get more attacks off, and is, I'd say, a little bit more consistent. You have a starter that lets you look at the top 5 every time your Vanguard hits and it's the 3rd battle or more for a Maelstrom unit, which either gets you your grade 3 or Stride Fodder or your Cross Rides. And people keep undervaluing the power of Cross Rides in this game right now, but Cross Rides, the Cross Ride defense is still really, really good, as it allows you to block things like the Aqua Force Rush a bit easier when they're going for the big pushes, because it allows you to just use less guarding. Like, I already talked about this in my Big Bang video, which I also recommend checking out. But yeah, Cross Rides are good. Maelstrom Reverse is pretty solid. Counterblast 1, you swing with a +1 crit, or if that doesn't hit, you draw a card and kill something, so that's 3 checks. You have Limit Break enablers now. You have access to generic 10, well, you get themed 10k and 12k beaters, which Aqua Force have always liked, and you get a new card in Brascal Sweeper, which is a couple Dagger Sailor for the Blue Storm theme, in addition to being an 11k attacker if you have a Maelstrom Vanguard in play. Like, you just have to have a Maelstrom Vanguard in play for this guy's skill to be used, but still, swing 11, switch, swing 11, swing Maelstrom, activate skill, or activate Thavas, Lambrosa's skill, and restand this guy back up, and restand your rear guard back up, and swing. Like, oh, such good. And that's pretty much it for what I gotta say. How are you guys playing your Aqua Force? As you may have guessed at this point, this deck can differ from player to player. There's so many ways to play it, so many ways to build it. It's incredibly versatile, which is something that Vanguard doesn't really have. Like, you have your clan, you stick to that clan, and a lot of the clans do have like 50 to 70% template. Like, if you're playing a Thing Saver deck, you're going to be running a Thing Saver, you're going to be running your Mace, and you're going to be running the Sword Me engine, which involves running Jewel Knights. If you're playing the Cross, then you're playing, well, there's not much variation to Cross decks. Like, it's either do you run the Great or do you not. And then Narukami is either you're running Vermilion, Eradicators, or Brawlers. Like, I'm just saying, like, you can play Aqua Force in so many ways. You can play this way, you can play this way, you can play this way, or you can even play with Legions. You can play with the Blue Storm Legions, like Tetra Burst Dragon, the new guy, or Zaharias. And Zaharias gets a little better because his mate is actually really good in here. And if you dead drew Zaharias, then you can just pitch it for strides. So that's all I gotta say on Aqua Force. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Tell me how you feel about this style of doing a video, and tell me how this video comes off. Because I'm experimenting with a new phone I just got, so it's also a reason why I'm doing it this way and not with my tripod. But yeah, that's all I got to say. As for what's coming up, well, I have my Jewel Knights finished, and I'm in the process of also building Pale Moons for when the new Fighters Collection comes out. I've managed to find some Blue Gears, so I grabbed those, and they should be coming at some point. So next month you can expect that. And hopefully I can start getting in some games with some of these decks. My friends are also updating their decks with the new set. My one friend's Gear Chronicles are basically done, and I know 2 people who are building Great Nature, and that should be all the clans in the set have been covered. And that's all I gotta say. So until next time, this is Blue Star 99 jacking out, and thank you all.